What is up, everybody? It's Dr. Vibe here, host and producer of the award-winning Dr. Vibe Show, the home of Epic Conversations, and I'm the host of Epic Conversations, 2020 Best Podcast News Award winner, 2018 Innovation Award winner, given out by the Canadian Ethnic Media Association, and I am the co-host and co-producer of the only online show in the world for dads and fathers. It's sponsored by Dove Men Plus Care and Dad Central. And as always, I'd like to say you're blessed, highly favored, a magnet for miracles, and a solution for someone's problem. We are broadcasting live on June 18th. I'm here in Toronto. It's like fall weather in Toronto. We've had like northerly cold winds over the last 24 hours. It's cool and nice because we had some really nasty humidity over the last few days. Not complaining, just saying. But you know what? What better place to be on a Saturday night with three outstanding, beautiful, talented, boisterous young ladies. It's called Staggers State of Things. Plus, we have LaLa back. So let me bring them to the stage. Here we go.
State of Things, Aisha and Jill.
You know what? I don't know. I like every second or third show, I have a brain cramp.
We got to
say something else.
Yeah. It's just not working. If that happens,
but that's all right. But I'm human.
I know, but if somebody keeps calling, although I had a friend who her mom called me Chris all the time when I was a kid, and then after a while she was like, "You look like a Chris. I'm just going to call you Chris because you look like one." And so
like
she called me Chris forever. Yeah,
you look like
the
a
thing
Chris.
Is that you've been doing that since 2017, so it's hard, and we just
to break it.
It's kind of hard.
But no, it's like. I'm human. I mess up, family. So don't shoot me. I'm the piano player. I'm just a piano player. What's going on, ladies? How we doing?
Good.
Great. Thumbs up from a Jill. A thumbs up.
Yeah, I personally am. Yeah, why not? In light of everything, I might as well try to see it optimistically. Glass half full than empty.
Jill, quick question. Why is Serena playing in Wimbledon?
I think she must be trying to capture her another opportunity. It's just that nagging thing that's bothering her. She wants to win it. I get it. I totally get it. It's just, it's hard because Emma Ratajkowski, I don't know if some of the girls have dropped out. Ash Barty isn't in anymore. So maybe she thinks she could actually pull it off. And the other one cries all the time. What's her name? Naomi Osaka. I think she's kind of done. Is she going to retire?
She's pulled out. Osaka's pulled out.
Oh. So this is probably why. But I just think that there's so many good young players that.
You know what would be really humbling for Serena, and I don't wish this upon her, if she ends up playing that lady who has that match streak.
Oh, yes, that one. Yeah. I don't know. Do we need to see Serena humble?
No.
This is but I think she's this girl with the match streak. She's something else. You know what?
All right. We had to get our tennis in. Sorry, because I know that's Jill's thing. Gotta keep the Jones girl happy. HAPPY. LaLa, what's going on? Good to have you back. What does your t-shirt say?
Oh, it says we march. Y'all mad. We sit down, y'all mad. We speak up, y'all mad. We back, you silent.
So true, I know.
Where did you get that from?
I actually had this made after I saw it online somewhere. I think they had it on somewhere, and I was like, I gotta have it. So I have this made in the sense that my mother-in-law and my father-in-law may wear it too.
Yeah, it's brilliant. It's really great.
Aisha, how you doing?
I'm good.
Good. Everyone's so energetic. We'll see if that lasts as we go into the conversation today.
Right.
I know there's at least two topics that will bring out the best in y'all. So let's make it happen. As always, like to say hello to Jen. Hey, Jen.
Hey, Jen.
When are you coming on? I was all jacked 2 weeks ago. Aisha told me you were coming on. I haven't seen you. I'm just going to put it out.
Are we waiting for her to say?
No,
I know. Where has she been?
That's all right. I'm just playing. Let's get to it because we got, as usual, lots to chat about. And I guess our first conversation piece, The hearings continue. They get more and more interesting. What did we get from this week's hearings?
Things we already knew. We already knew this stuff. I'm cool. I'm glad that they're airing it. But honestly, the people who this really needs to be aimed at, they don't care. They don't care. They're not listening. They're not doing whatever they want to. It may open just a few people who were on the fence, but we absolutely knew every last bit of this from the very beginning. And people are still in denial. The same people who were saying lock her up about Hillary and where is the laptop or whoever it is. And they're still like, oh, that didn't happen. They're just making this stuff up and it's all a sham and it's a show. This is nothing new. Those of us who know, we know and we knew.
But you know what though, I have to push back on that just a little bit because of the ratings it was. So even though like we knew, those of us who are actively engaged in watching politics and seeing how it evolves, I think there were people who were paying attention because 20 million people tuned in. It was on every major network. The ratings were such that Fox decides they're going to show it on what Fox Business. But when they went back and looked at the ratings compared to what they ran in opposition to it, which was Tucker Carlson, Sean Hannity, and Laura, they found that their ratings were different and that they could not even get near those ratings. So they've moved to showing it. And so they've moved to showing it. So that speaks to the power this has. I think that they're doing a good job in terms of laying the case out there, because by the end of this week, the DOJ had no option other than to say, hey, we need those things. We need what you have so that we can prosecute people more effectively. And that also opens the door for them to engage in prosecution of Donald Trump and everyone who was very close to him at the time.
Oh my God, that's my dream. But the way I'm feeling is they've been waiting for this. And I know they had to line it up appropriately, but I guess I'm just so doggone tired of the whole thing. I was like, why hasn't something been done long before this? I know there's a process, but I'm at the stage where I'm like, okay, we see it. We know it. Okay, now when are we going to do something about it?
Some people think that the DOJ had a little bit of egg on their faces because as they should have, because as the information was flying out, people have to imagine that people were like, okay, so even just on the strength alone of Trump knowing and being told a million times that he lost, and he went and created a fund that was really never a fund, it didn't exist, that's illegal. And so we're sitting here with this has been splayed out. And I really think that the way that Congress has done this is very clever, because they knew they were assing out the DOJ on this. They knew, we're going to show your asses in a minute. They had no other choice. They put it out there and they spent a long time on it about this fund. There was even a point where Donald Trump's own attorney, Eastman, who was encouraging the incitement and we can do this and let's keep moving and trying to push these people through to kill Pence. Even Rudy Giuliani, as messed up as he is, there was one point where even he said, I don't think you can do that. And that tripped me out, because I was like, wow. And Rudy's all up in it too. But there was even a threshold that he wouldn't go over. So that one point where you can see what a psychopath Trump is, to the point where he really was encouraging people to kill Mike Pence, and in a very manipulative way. And he's the kind of guy that makes other people think it was their idea. And what's so crazy is he also lied and came forth and said that Mike Pence knows that he can turn this over. And he got everybody, he set it up with a lie that Mike Pence, and Mike Pence had already told him, dude, I'm not going to do it. And he went and they tried to confront Trump. So he set it up like Mike betrayed us. He said that Mike Pence betrayed us. That was it. That was what set it off.
Manson went to prison for inciting things. So what's taking us? To me, this is no different.
That's actually what a lot of the commentary was, and that is really the belief that Congress is setting that example up so that DOJ, when they go to do something, doesn't have to do all the walkthrough. They are literally, because Congress can only deal with the civil part, so they're setting up the criminal case for DOJ to hand it to them with a bow on top. I think the part that came out the most is like further what Jill said. Trump knew on January 5th that what he wanted was illegal. They had the conversations. The lawyers had the conversations. Eastman had a conversation with Giuliani, and they had a conversation with Pence's attorney. But the part that you cannot overlook is the fact that Donald Trump was there and present at each one of those conversations. So he knew. So when he went and gave his little speech on January 6th, he crafted the words to incite that level of violence.
Yeah.
He already knew what he wanted to do was illegal. So what did he do? He incited violence to get to the end that he wanted.
Wow.
It's crazy because for me, today I watched this really wild thing about the Concorde and who was responsible for the Concorde crash in 2000, or I think it was 2001. And so after some time, they had gone back and thought it was a little piece of metal that was on the runway that hit the tires. The tire blew off, basically hit the fuel tank, which, by the way, the fuel tank was doubly full because the pilot wanted more fuel for refueling. The chain of events and the negligence of just taking things for granted or just the setup, everything was wrong. Then at one point the maintenance hadn't fixed there was a clip on the tire. Maintenance forgot to put like a swisher or whatever they call that on the tire. Then, so the plane is veering down left, and Jacques Chirac, the president of France at the time, is flying in on a Boeing. So the recipe, basically my point is that as much as the pilot tried to avoid all of these errors, they had thrown 19 bags on without weighing them. It was 1.1 kilos over. There was so much wrong. That's how I started to see January 6th today. And I said, that's it. So when they went in to sue, because obviously there was a lawsuit for the family members, Continental Airlines was a part of it. There were so many different people and variables. And that's how I feel this is. If we had a situation with an investigation, and that took about a year for them to pull through, and our DOJ has done absolutely zip on it, I'm sorry. Taking the little people first and throwing them to the wolves shows you exactly who they are. They should have always been going for the head of the class because that's where it originated. And I don't have much faith in Merrick Garland, Merrick Garbage. I don't, but I love that they threw his out there to be like, yo. And so what they're doing now by coming forward and saying to the congressional committee, they made a really ominous statement, which was, since you're putting out all of these depositions and everything, you might be interfering with the case. Now, that is their default for their, like, as far as I'm concerned, if they don't find somebody, big fish, other than Eastman, who we know is going to go down because he's saying fit for 150 questions, we can see those. But if Donald Trump's daughter doesn't give enough to just be straight up, yeah, I knew he lost, basically. Yeah, then Merrick Garland could have done something. It just really makes everybody think, wow, the conspiracy that it was so hush and you just don't do this to a president is utter.
The thing that I like, though, in all of this is that the more the way that they're doing it, first of all, is that they're giving little nuggets to the press, like little leaks, They didn't leak anything this
At
whole
all.
time. They're giving little leaks right before the setup of the presentation. But then Trump doesn't have the wherewithal or the sense to shut up. He is talking,
Thank you.
and everything that he says is okay. You are incriminating yourself
He's an
even
idiot.
more. Basically,
Can't help it.
you're giving the DOJ reason to go after you, to the point you're pushing their backs against the wall, to the point that they have no choice, because he is going to, within the next 2 weeks, admit to something completely and blatantly criminal.
And if they don't do it, then we have to question, why did they not do it? Who does he
Right.
know? And we're going to get on this topic, is Ginni going to be the sacrificial lamb? Because if I were her husband, I'd be sitting back right now going, okay, so who's going to get the sucker punch really bad? And I think it's going to be Ginni.
Oh, I do too.
Oh yeah, but you know what though? I hope it is, and the reason
I
why,
do too. She
because
deserves it.
she deserves it, but she is that selfish and self-preserving that she will give them everything that they actually need. I do believe there is some information that she has just exclusively between her and Trump.
Oh, I
and
do too.
it will save her from a jail sentence.
I think her husband knows things too. I think that if she
course.
opens up the door, it's going to be brilliant. This is going to be amazing because
you know what?
Yeah.
We're gonna switch over to Ginni because you love Ginni so much. Let's just
Oh my
talk about
God.
Ginni.
Okay. You know why it's going to be amazing? Because it's just the way something comes full circle. She had to suffer through her husband's nonsense with Anita Hill and him being a real pig all over that poor woman. And she lived her whole life waiting on an apology. This is a woman who is like angry. She's been angry her whole damn life.
Yeah.
She's been feeling unjustified. She probably beats Clarence Thomas at home. I don't know what she does to him, but all we know is he's not into Ginni. That's for sure.
Right.
He don't like Ginni.
my
Ginni's too
God.
busy. She's so busy outside of her own home. We know there ain't nothing going on in it.
Look, she's got his pride up under her armpit.
Just look at her. It's all over her face. Look at her. Put a Trump picture up right next to her, and you see the same person.
I know.
You're going in on.
You know what's more? I gotta tell you this. If you put a picture of her side by side by Ben Carson's wife, they look like a black and white version of each other.
Yeah, they do. They clearly are in that weird crew after postmenopause. What can happen? These are the things we women want to avoid, ladies.
Yeah. I've been homely. Look, I've been homely my whole life, and now I've got power.
Oh my gosh.
And she just
look at her. She's got her power scarf on.
Wow.
And,
Oh, and she's looking to Jesus, y'all. That's the Jesus picture. That's the whole
no.
Yes, it is the Jesus picture.
Yeah, it's so true.
Do you want me to get up and leave? Don't you?
I know. It's just unreal. It's just, this woman is still like reveling in the fact that she's from the DAR, Daughters of the American Revolution, and ain't nobody checking for you, girl.
And they were homely too.
They're trying to recruit people that they're bending the rules recently. It's dwindled down. They all start to look like cyclopses because of the inbreeding.
Yeah.
You know, see how the eyes are starting to merge into one big eye pretty soon.
Does she and Clarence have a kid?
Girl, do they have separate bedrooms? Is the question.
Oh my gosh.
Because she just doesn't seem like a woman who's got those endorphins working, those healthy things going on. It's like, lady.
Every time I look at her, I see Little House on the Prairie.
Oh, Lord, yeah.
She even said, we don't talk about the same things. We don't talk about, you're not together enough to talk about things. She likes to say that it's boring to me what he does. Okay,
clearly not.
Why are y'all married?
No, clearly it's not boring enough what he does, because I guess she's hoping that what he does will protect her.
Yes.
Yeah, but he better, if the door even cracks a little bit, his is going to
Yeah.
be sitting there
Yeah.
too.
Just so people know,
But I'm sorry, he deserves to be there. He's
He
been
does.
compromised, and he's been compromised for years.
a Supreme Court justice can be impeached, just so people know.
Yes,
Yeah,
Wow.
it's true.
I think
I
it's
just-
fine.
Wow.
They can't be fired, but they can be impeached.
But
So-
then what do you guys think of Sotomayor's letter about it? Like her standing up for him. Like, I get it. He's her buddy. Oh, she said he knows everybody by name in the Supreme Court.
There's
I'm
only
supposed to
only
give a
9
shit
of you.
about that. We had police officers who died, Sotomayor.
But there's only
and
9
he
of them.
knows
How
some
do you not know anybody's name?
And
Girl,
yeah,
then make him a guard, a security guard. I don't really give a shit. Make him sit there and say, "Hey, how you doing, Tommy? Hey, Sally." But you cannot be on the court. You cannot serve two masters.
no.
Up
But
in
it doesn't
here.
make sense. Look, I
He's
taught a class
friendly
of
with
63
everybody.
kids.
So
right?
is the janitor.
No, but I taught a class of 63 kids. I didn't know any of their names by the end of the class. That was 63. She only has 8 other coworkers.
Thank you.
How is he not supposed to know everyone's name? That's all. Those are the only people you work with and you see all day. Come on.
And half of the time they've been on Zoom, right? This last couple of
right.
years.
And
Damn.
on Zoom, your name shows up.
Oh my goodness. So
That's
getting
someone
to-
who has Zoom meetings all the time for work.
I know.
so let's a little bit serious. How potentially much a bombshell is all this Ginni Thomas, Clarence Thomas, January 6th thing? This could be this like there's so many facets of this. Her involvement, his potential involvement, the respectability of the Supreme Court had just gone probably down potentially gone like down to nothing. There's so many different avenues here that could just blow up.
But the main thing that we have to look for, which would be the big bombshell, what was the conversation between Ginni and Clarence about what he would do if the electors and any of that Trump BS came before the Supreme Court?
That's
Was
what
he
put him in the
prepared?
hospital, girl. I
Exactly.
think they
Was he
just broke the
prepared to
news
do
down.
this?
That's
Mhm.
right.
Was
He
he-
did go to the hospital.
Yes, he did. He's been trying to find his way out.
Recorder.
He's been trying to find his way out. Look, I think that right now he's hoping that he wishes he could be fired, or
Girl,
hoping
he's
that they
going to
will
saw off a
impeach him.
leg or something, fingers, or he's sitting at home sawing,
He
trying to
might
find
be
any way
spiteful
out.
enough
You're
to
right.
just die.
Yeah. I'm telling you, Clarence got in with this woman that he really be careful. That this is a lesson in utter madness, and I'm so happy that I get to see it come full circle, that relationship, because Ginny is starting to remind me like her anger and rage. Like she's really going to destroy her husband. Reminds me of a story in India. They showed a elephant had gone to a village and trashed this woman's house and stomped her as well.
At a funeral.
And then came back at the funeral, passed by. I'm
Knocked
just
the
making sure
casket
she's
over and
dead.
stuff.
And they said, people were like, I don't know what she did to that elephant, but she did something, because we've never, I mean, he tore her house up.
Well, you know what she did? This is what just came out, was that she distracted the mother elephant while the poachers took the baby. That's why that mother elephant
she deserved it. I just love that she cruised back by and was like,
knocked
"I'm
over
gonna
the
get you."
casket and then stomped the body.
Stomped on her again.
Wow.
So Ginny is going to she tried to topple the America as well, she and Trump.
Yeah.
So
you
that's a
gotta
very
remember,
sick woman.
You got to remember
Sick.
too, her relationship with Clarence is sick because, first of all, he used her to get into positions and into places
He
where
totally
she, as
did.
the daughter of the American Revolution, could get into, and into these circles that, as a Black man married to the Black woman he was married to beforehand, would not have gotten into. And And in her eyes, it's wait a second, I brought you into this and got you into this position, and you do what? You humiliate me all these years?
Right.
Oh no. You just wait. Because when
and then
I
don't forget,
big,
Biden was leading that committee that tried Clarence. So they were on Clarence, and there must have been some behind the scenes stuff. There was some inappropriate things said that people were mad at Biden for saying to Clarence Thomas as well, which I do recall. I watched the whole thing. It was just so inappropriate. If they went over that hair in that pubic hair in that Coca-Cola can one more time, and it was going to make me not, if I was a Coca-Cola executive, I would have been like, please stop it. You're going to kill our business.
Yeah.
It was like I couldn't even drink Coca-Cola for like a couple of years.
Yeah. And I was like 15 at the time that happened. And so for them to talk about the pubic hair and the Coca-Cola in America in the early 90s, that was on TV where kids could see. That was something
and Pepsi
major,
was the thing then. No wonder Pepsi flew up off the charts with Michael Jackson, because for a long time Coca-Cola was associated with Clarence Thomas and that damn pubic hair comment. It was just disgusting. So Ginni has been mad ever since.
Yeah,
and you're right. She was like, you humiliate me, and God only knows how they got back out on their social circuit and how she had to eat real humble pie and crow at the same time. Crow pie. Woo. She said, I'll take my chances with Trump, and I hated Joe Biden. Take his ass too. All of it. She's
Isn't
just
it 9 and 20 blackbirds baked in a pie?
Oh boy. Oh my goodness. My goodness. So this obviously is going to be an ongoing saga with Ginni, Clarence, January 6th. There's an ongoing mess. But I get back to the whole thing. Is anyone going to get punished?
I'm praying. I'm really praying.
Someone will get punished. That's not the question. The question is, will Trump get punished?
Yes, exactly. We do know that Tish James has decided she's going to look into the funding part. But to be honest, that should also be looked into by the federal government. Should immediately be looking into it. Just like the feds moved in Buffalo and decided to make that little creature creep. Now he's up for the death penalty because they turned it into a federal thing. That makes more sense for me. But I don't know where, like I said, Merrick Garland. He's too much
off. He's been doing this long before this. Long before he was even uttered the word politics in his thing. People have been bowing down to him. Oh, he's a great businessman. How many bankruptcies has he had? How many buildings that were financed by the government in New York City, subsidized, were subpar because he refused to put the right kind of insulation, the right kind of windows, everything, because he was pocketing the money. This is nothing new for him. So he got away with it before, so he thinks he's going to get it away with it again because no one has ever slapped his hand. They've always said, "Oh, we'll save you." So this is what he's thinking.
But this is his father owns it, though.
His father owned some places in America, by the way. Like in Ohio, there were a few properties and community properties. And what's so interesting to me is as dilapidated and derelict as many of them got. See, it is a long time coming, as LaLa says, that none of them are placed into receivership. Normally, when your buildings have violations and some really dangerous things, you would go into receivership and the money would be paid directly of the rent or whatever, but not them. They've always been above it for a very long time. And it's just a lot now. It's too much.
But see, this is the thing about him being charged and why it's so tenuous. If he was paying for his legal bills out of his own pocket, the road to him getting charged and convicted would be a lot shorter than it's going to be. That fund that he has that Joe was just talking about is what he's using to pay for all of his appeals and delays and all this stuff, because it's like these idiots are paying to keep him out of jail while they are going to jail. Okay.
Right.
And they are being investigated. And you cannot, it is fundamentally illegal. It's against election law in this country. You cannot get money for, and say it's campaign money, and use it for legal costs outside of the purview of a campaign. The only way that he's going to try and do that is as a technicality. But the problem with that is that the election was over when he did his dirt. So you're asking for the money. You're not running any campaign at this point, except for the campaign of keeping you out of jail.
Which people are still gladly given to because they don't care.
It's funny because one of the things that I learned was that he had trapped people into giving him the money. So they think they're doing a one-time donation,
right?
And it's
and it was
current.
debit.
People were noticing that there was like
close the get a new card, right?
Yeah, they had to close their accounts after he was taking out $3,000, and he would do it in a matter of 2 weeks. You have the one-time donation, then they charge you a fee, and then they enroll you in something else, and then they have you on this monthly plan, and it was crazy. And he like built a lot of people that way. That's how he made all that money so quick.
And it was the little people, because remember, I had signed up, as a Republican at one point, and it's true, they were emailing people like 20 times a day. You stop the steal, and blue. I was like, this is like trying to get blood from a turnip, is going to be like emailing me? No way. But it was like 20 times a day. And to be honest with you, this is where the rest of the people they're saying who have come up and they've been helping on the committee, and now they only started helping because they knew it was going to come out, and they started weighing how they were going to appear. They're still creeps. They still are jerks. They did nothing, because if he had have gotten over, they'd still be sitting there in office acting like Bill Barr, that people don't believe him because he enabled everything and he knew what was happening. And he even as much as he says he wasn't Trump's boy, he was, because a DOJ who would have had that information that you guys are trying to bilk all these people would have been like, I'm sorry, you can't do that. I am the chief law enforcement officer in America, and I'm going to indict you because you just told me this. Yeah. But he didn't do any of it.
Said he quit.
And then he quit. And so what does that mean? But I don't know. Bill Barr is going to have to answer for that somewhere in his life, because it's just not believable at the end of the day. And he's still a creep. The interesting thing for me is, why do we have so many psychopaths and sociopaths right now in key positions that the government, and like LaLa said, they keep wanting to run and get businessmen to run as president. And the problem here is that businessmen are destroying the world. Businessmen right now are holding everybody hostage over everything. Wheat, animals, cattle, all of it. They're literally destroying things to make sure that the inflation is going to continue up, and for their own profits. They are liberally doing it. This is all the more reason to have, I don't even know what to say anymore, but they're all psychopaths and they don't care. I keep posting, the elites are not our friends.
That's right.
They've all gotten into cahoots, basically. And if you can see that their battle is, it's them against us. So stop letting yourself be played, because rich people, Elon Musk, I think a private citizen is suing him for racketeering, for Dogecoin. Nobody wants a class action. That's how Trump got away with his university stuff. Class action suits. Miss me with the class action suits. I'll hire an attorney myself and do it on my own. But if everybody individually came for Trump, he wouldn't even have enough money to fight it. There's no way. Not a way.
And you would think that these January 6th insurrectionists that are on trial right now would be smart enough to also sue him individually.
They're just not very smart, though, Aisha. They're not.
If they were smart, they wouldn't have done an insurrection. on behalf of Donald Trump. But you know what, though? This harkens back 50 years ago to Nixon. And you think about the inflation and all this stuff. Guess what? 4 years later, Carter caught the butt end of what Nixon did. It shows up years later. And so what happened? Right. All the inflation, and that's why he did not win a second term. So what we're seeing is very cyclical. The sad part about it, or the sick part about it, is that all the players on Trump's side had been in some kind of position 50 years ago during the Nixon stuff. They're just, now they've taken it like,
it's crazy.
It's like Nixon 2.0.
Yeah.
Okay. They 3.0. They've gone totally, things that they thought were shameful 50 years ago, they're all on board and they're like expediting it. It's crazy.
They never thought it was shameful. Obviously, they thought it was just what was de rigueur, right, of the day.
But remember, it was the party that put the pressure on Nixon to resign.
Yes, it was.
Okay, so these people were embarrassed 50 years ago.
But now, they could never put it on Trump. The party has no power with Trump.
No, they don't. And you know this because Lindsey Graham went on Twitter and said he's afraid of Trump.
What is she doing? I know.
Why are people afraid of this idiot?
Because they think he acts like a mobster. He is a mobster.
So it goes back to that. It goes back to the Russian interference. Russia had a whole bunch of stuff on some of these people, and Trump got the stuff because it's what helped him to win, and he's still holding on to it. That's the fear, and whatever it is for Lindsey, it's worse than people asking about his sexuality or in all of that. Believe
exactly.
me. It is
all along gone.
It is that bad because let me tell you something. As someone who lived and worked in South Carolina and in South Carolina politics, Lindsey Graham already knows what people think about him and about his sexuality because he just hasn't found the right woman. When he said that, like 15, 16 years ago, people clowned him for it. So it's whatever it is that Trump has is far worse than what those of us just thinking about it randomly think. It's far worse.
It's true.
Wow.
Can you imagine living your life like that? My God.
They all do. Look at Elon Musk. He's not that different. They all live their lives flying by the seat of their pants because psychopaths don't have anything about risk. It's not, that's part of what it is. That's their thing.
The only thing they do fear, though, is prison. And I think for Lindsey Graham, whatever it is that Trump has on him is criminal.
If they
survive the social stuff, he wouldn't survive in jail.
If they do what they're going to do to WikiLeaks guy, Julian Assange, I don't know if that'll send a loud enough message to them, but I still think that Assange would be the wrong person. He's still a middleman, but he did play a part of the unraveling too. And then what happens is just greed gets people, or is it survival? I don't even know if Assange will survive the situation. I just don't think he physically will handle it. Life in prison.
Let's move on to one of Jill's favorite boys who finally visited Buffalo.
TV, and I said to my daughter, I'm like, wait a second, it's been a month. I'm like, he showed up a month late. I'm like, he showed up a month late. And I also raised the question, was it performative because the stuff that was coming out about the January 6th and people were like, where's Merrick Garland? Merrick Garland was in Buffalo when everybody was wondering where he was. And I gotta say that when they interviewed him while he was there, it was like, you're here and you're half asleep.
He just has no chi. He has no chi energy in him. It's like, I told you guys this once before. They say if you ever look at a husband and a wife, or as they get older, you can tell who doesn't have any more chi. A lot of men don't have their chi energy when they're older. And a lot of that is because either they worked or drank coffee, or there's a lot of too much sexual energy they expelled when they were young. I don't know what it is, but he has no chi. For a
Yeah.
Scorpio, I am shocked. I am shocked this man is a Scorpio. And I'm like, what the hell is going on in here?
You know, when I was in high school, there's this boy we used to call Sleep because his eyes looked like he was sleepy. That's my new nickname for Merrick Garland, because Merrick
Yeah.
Garland is always asleep at.
Or he's like Garfield the cat.
It's like he
rolling up
falls
and-
asleep in the middle of his own speech.
Yeah.
You know?
I
It's
mean,
like,
the good thing that came out of it was that we know the feds are going to
Yeah.
indict that nasty little creature for a long time, and he'll get the Dzhokhar Zaranov kind of effect.
yeah, but we need some Eric.
Because New York doesn't have a death penalty. We'll see what happens with that. I don't know.
New York doesn't have a death penalty, but he can get the death penalty.
He can get it federally, but we haven't really executed anybody federally in a long time.
They haven't executed anyone, but they did give Dylan Roof after the Charleston massacre, which happened 7 years ago yesterday. They did give him the death penalty.
Then they should do it, because the reality is these people are of no use. They're not even good for rehabilitation.
No.
They are psychopaths. A psychopath is born. Maybe a sociopath can get with very rarely, but these cluster B personalities, coupled with just some sick other stuff that came with them when they came here, they got to be put down, like euthanized. They must be euthanized.
Yeah, and I think the only reason
and it's terrible to say that. I'm not really one for all of that, to be honest.
I know, but you're telling to me, I'm with you on that. What good are you then? I hate to say that anyone here doesn't.
They don't feel remorse.
They don't feel anything. So how can you help them?
It's like if they go and we pay for them to go and have psychiatry or psychotherapy, please, let's look at the reports and you will find psychopaths do not feel empathy. They just don't. And they were born that way. A sociopath is created. A psychopath is born that way. We waste all these times. And what happened is, like, even someone like a Charles Manson, if they stay around too long, people catch feelings for these creeps.
Yeah.
Let them catch feelings for everybody who caught feelings for Hitler, weirdos, asshole people, in a book. I'm like, no, you aren't going to leave these people around so people can be like, I think he was really nice. Miss me with that.
The connection, though, between
or put them in Squid Games. I don't know. I think we should do Squid Games for everybody now.
This is talking about making it a real game show. So maybe we can nominate some politicians
with real bullets. Let's just put Congress in there. And let's see if the GOP, whoever's hanging, that we can see. I think that's where it's coming down to. How horrible that weird. I'm joking, but in a really weird way. I was like, this is crazy, where it's very dystopian how we're living, where we are, and how even Texas is hiding the information on those poor babies.
Yes.
People are not going to tolerate much more sitting around. I'm telling you. So we're getting close to a very crazy tipping point. And wealthy people and people who are very privileged and elite, if I were them, I'd be a little bit concerned. You need to get your little lawmakers in order, because this is a very dangerous time. Because I don't even know security guards who feel that you can pay them enough money to protect some of these people.
Yeah.
But you get these people like Trump who are just, and you realize that there is this fine line between being a sociopath and a psychopath, in that all sociopaths suffer from antisocial disorder. Not all psychopaths suffer from antisocial disorder, but they can. And the ones that do are a special kind of insane. It's a special kind of just, not only do they have no shame, no remorse, they don't, I can't say it any other way, but they don't care about anything. There's very little they care about, and they're only motivated for their own survival. And part of that survival has to be public for a lot of them. And if you watch him and you watch people like him, there was no reason for him to even start the whole, oh, this election is rigged thing, except for the fact that now, with all these hearings, we know that he knew by the primary, by the end of the primary season for the House, he knew that he was not going to win. When COVID hit, he knew this was a campaign killer, which is why he did all the stuff that he did in terms of trying to not make testing available, not talk about the numbers, lie about the numbers, say like when
everything was about making money. It was like he looked at Rudy and went, okay, well, how are we going to make some money on this one? That's what's crazy about him. It was all a big heist.
It was about he had the choice. Either I'm going to make money from this or I'm going to have a lot of power. If I can do both, perfect.
Yeah.
However, I'm going to try and make money off of this. That's when he bought up all the pills and all those things. But then he realized the lack of popularity that he had. And you got to remember, Trump's ego is so big. This is a man who talked himself into a game show about nothing.
Yeah.
About nothing. The Apprentice was really about nothing. These people weren't doing real jobs.
No, and he didn't have that kind of level anyway, even at his jobs. But like I mentioned before, what is it that we as a society have created that we have and hold in high regard people with these type of egos? Mm-hmm. For instance, Kim Kardashian.
Oh my God.
Her hips are size 41. The dress, which was sewn on Marilyn Monroe, the hips are 34. What kind of crazy do you have to be to have the audacity to think your big ass is going to fit in where the actual width is 34? And you keep downsizing your ass slowly with clearly some kind of liposuction to get smaller, and it's still wrong. You know, we have it everywhere. It's in every facet.
But remember, it was ego for her that made her get the butt injections in the very first
place. She's
place.
Also, if you notice, since she got with this white dude, that ass has been coming down. It's been deflating like a freaking balloon at a child's party.
I thought it was just me.
No, it's deflating.
She's getting things removed.
Yes, totally. She's wearing less makeup. She's becoming what? You know that? No, what? The Jeff Bezos having dinner with them at night. She ain't having dinner with Jay-Z and them anymore. She got.
No, you gotta remember, so Jay-Z and Beyonce.
What they needed.
Jay-Z and Beyonce thought she was trash. They stopped having dinner with Kanye when he got with her.
But I'm saying they did legitimize her.
Yes,
they did. And they put her on. Let's just say that.
Sorry to interrupt, but when we start talking about Kim Kardashian, it's definitely time to change the subject. Juneteenth.
Okay, so I tweeted last night that ABC did another Juneteenth show after last year's, and people were like, please don't do this again. because Chloe's saying what's feeling good. She did Chloe, one of those sisters, Chloe and Halle, that Beyonce worked with, but she did this version of feeling good, grinding on the floor at a Juneteenth kind of thing. No. And she's barely dressed. And so people were, it was a great performance had it been for like the Grammys or the American Music Awards, not for the Juneteenth. So ABC did it again this year. And it was it was more mild, definitely, in terms of how they did it. So I hadn't intended to watch, but I did watch, and I fell asleep by the end. It wasn't.
At least they're doing it. I can't. At least they're doing it.
Yeah,
it's an important step. My family never did it, so it's new to me. New to me.
No, we never celebrated it.
So if you're watching,
you neither.
No, we never did either. It was just.
I don't even think my relatives would think it was for them that it meant anything, because it still meant a work day. That's
Right.
how they were.
Yeah.
So let me ask, and I got an article for people who are watching this live on replay. If you're hearing this, sorry, but the article is Juneteenth ice cream and paper plates. Companies keep getting the holiday wrong.
Yeah.
So is this become another holiday that we're just not really recognizing the value? And it just becomes
Exactly.
Yes.
so commercialized that
Yes.
it's not a,
It is,
Yes.
but they also did the same thing with Pride Month. Walmart did the same thing, put out some rainbow sherbet and tried to say that it was Pride, and then Juneteenth with the stupid ice cream that they did there. And then they had nerve enough to try to trademark it. And when the community found out about that was the end, they withdrew their trademark registration.
Considering how Walmart feels about everybody anyway, I don't even step a foot in Walmart. So it may have the best anti-wrinkle cream coming and going, and I just wouldn't do it.
The only thing that I have seen that I actually was, you have different artists or different artist estates having a Juneteenth celebration, kind of musical celebration, which I think is good, because if you know anything, you know the history of Black people at all, you know that June is also Black Music Month.
Yes.
Yeah.
So it is a way to celebrate. And
Is it? I didn't know that. I didn't know it was Black Music Month.
yeah.
it is.
I
It
just
is.
remember June going and seeing like Frankie Beverly concerts when I was young, but maybe it was because that's when we would all go and see shows. But I don't know. A lot of it's all commercialized now.
Yeah. And that's what makes it sad.
And that's the problem for me about all of it. There's far too much commercialization and less heart going into anything that anybody's doing. And the people that they're giving the business to are white CEOs. There's not.
I get so mad when
where's
I
the
see
Black
car sales.
promoters doing it, and where are these people of color corporations and companies? I just, it's like, I
it's
don't
on
know.
us. It's on
Mhm.
us. And that's one thing that I am extremely proud to say. In my household, when I was raising my son, if something like this came up, it was a learning point. We didn't get on the corporation bandwagon. We sat down, okay, son, this is what you said. Just like music, if someone came out and remade it and sampled it, no. Your job is to go and listen to the original. And this is why my son likes everything. So when it came to something like this, I would sit him down and teach him the real thing, and we would celebrate the real thing, just like we do at Christmas. I don't care about the commercialism. It's not about the present, and it surely ain't about no Santa Claus. Okay. So in my household, we taught the true meaning. So now we take this, whatever the corporations are doing is whatever the corporations are doing. So it's on us to start these conversations in our own households with our children.
Yeah. My mother is a history teacher, so every January 15th, she would pull out her slideshow, and we'd go through the slideshow. And actually, that's the first image of John Lewis that I saw was from that slideshow. But she would do that every year. And we always had the holiday, the school holiday in Connecticut my whole life. But it would be on his actual birthday, and until they made it a federal holiday. I think that now the way that it is practiced, a lot of people are not getting the full story. You hear people say, oh, it was just 2 months later. It was like 5 months. No, it was 2 years later. And people don't really know the history. And I think that was one of the things that I had with the show that I watched last night, because they didn't give the history of the holiday. They they gave the history of the music very little. Actually, there was a huge segment in there where they were talking about Prince, and they were talking about ownership, music ownership. And it was a very interesting conversation, but I think at the very beginning, they needed to go into the depth of why we're here in the first place.
Yeah.
All right. I just want to shout out Cinnamon Canella has joined in the conversation. Welcome, Cinnamon. And longtime person I know online dropped in for a bit. Charisse Taylor saying, my feelings on Juneteenth are mixed. However, probably I wish that something or someone else of great accomplishment
Right.
for African Americans could be recognized as a national holiday.
I agree.
Yeah.
Good point.
But if you want to go to a Black-owned shop online that has wonderful things that like teach the history, and I believe they actually have your shirt, LaLa, because that's where I've seen that shirt before. I've seen it on a shirt. Is Izzy and Liv?
Yes,
Okay.
I love that shop.
I love it too. Yeah.
All right, good plug for Izzy and Liv. All right, good stuff. This, oh boy, I didn't know anything about this before we went live. Herschel Walker, Jill's Herschel Walker confirms he has 4 children, not just his son Christian. He says, quote, "I support them all."
Yeah.
Christian's the only one driving a Range Rover
Exactly.
$150,000 car.
and complaining about the cost of gas. You know
And
what?
paying for his car insurance.
Mhm.
Yeah, okay. He supports them all. It's a choice word, right? Support. That could mean, I'd be like, what do you mean? Financial support or support mentally? Like, good, go out there and make your money.
Or I support you from a distance. Which seems to
Exactly.
be what Herschel Walker does with all his kids except for Christian.
It just makes me angry. I'm sorry. You cannot talk about other Black men stepping up and doing something when your own ass is dirty. You are dirty. You knew this going in. You were hoping and praying that nobody would find out. But what you did in the dark came out to the light. Now you're trying to cover it up. Oh no, Jedi mind trick again. I'm not having it. I'm not having it. First of all, he's twisted in the first place.
He is a sociopath himself.
Yes. He's abusive.
Yes.
Yes.
And that is the one thing that is they believe in the Atlanta area. I know a pollster there that is the thing more than anything that's going to trip him up with voters there, because you're an abuser going up against a pastor.
Yeah.
So that is the.
Are you sure it's not going to be the fact that you can't understand a damn thing he says? Because
No, they don't care about that.
It's
in
like
the
he's
Bible
got
Belt,
marbles in his mouth. I don't know what the hell he's
No.
saying. Sometimes I have to sit back and go,
what I really don't like is his son Christian lecturing Black men about not showing up for being fathers and stuff. And it's, wait a second, your own father, how dare you? You're lecturing Black men about this, but who is the guy that just came out where he wasn't taking care of his kids? God, somebody famous too. I can't remember, but his son is, dude, how old are you? 10, 12? Because I don't know. You're the only, you have a lot to say when you're the only one of your father's children that he's always dragging to everything. I don't see your siblings.
And just, can you imagine how they freaking feel?
Huh?
Can you imagine how his siblings feel?
they should be happy that they're not around him.
Weird thing. Maybe it's just a weird thing for me, and the fact that my birth mother gave me to my aunt when I was 3 years old. She never came back. She had a lot of children. I knew of them. My aunt, who to me is my mother, always said, "Sweetie, we got to find out where she is because you must know your siblings." And in my heart, that's an important thing. This young man knows of his siblings and he's still perpetuating this bull. And I can only imagine how they feel.
Oh, I'm sure they feel horrible, and they've been feeling horrible from the time that he walked out. So this is just added bull, added pain on top of what they were already suffering. This is why they've come out, because I'm actually glad that they came out and set the record straight and said, look, no. And see, Herschel is, again, like Trump. He shouldn't spend so much time with him. The more you run your mouth, the more you are going to out yourself on something, and somebody's going to pick up on it.
Wasn't he just a few weeks ago having his crew out and paying for people's gas, talking about this is on Herschel, he's giving it to you? How stupid are you? You can't do that.
He was bribing people with votes. The honest reality is the man is probably got that concussion thing.
Yeah.
And
you can only give people something without cash value, like a pin or a magnet.
He's illiterate. He's stupid.
Yeah.
He's, self-loathing black man. He tried to shoot his wife with a gun. He tried to impersonate OJ with that act.
He said he was. He said he was in law enforcement, and he wasn't.
Yeah. So
he said that for real?
Yeah.
He also said he was in the military, and he was not.
Oh, yeah, and he wasn't. After a while, his kids should be hoping that they didn't inherit some of those stupid genes, and just hope that they can get on with life peacefully and catch him outside after he dies and challenge that will.
Yeah. I think every day they wear shirts that say, I get it from my mama.
Right?
I think they wear shirts every day that says, I get it from my mama.
Yeah, it's really terrible. I'm sure that we don't really know what's going on behind the scenes. All I can say is that hypocrites and these people, it doesn't bother them. See, that we know. They just don't care. No. And even their little rotten son, he doesn't think it's all he cares about is whose name is going to be on top of the will. That's all. Mm-hmm. No, but there might be some surprises at the end of that, because you can challenge that. And so I wouldn't be too sure. I don't care. I just encourage those poor kids to get a good attorneys. And when he's no longer here, fight it all the way.
Yep.
I still think he has a chance of winning.
It's possible. Have you looked at the state of this country? And the fact is, America seems to think that they're the only country suffering with high bills and groceries and everything else. And we're still doing better than certain parts of Europe and different other places. Russia was just saying they want to invade Germany the other day. So we've got some serious going on. And yet America only is, I can't believe it. I can't get my product that I ordered the other day, man. Yeah. That's the problem with this country. It really is. And it makes us really so unlikable. We don't know how to weather any storms. We cave in really fast. We have no integrity. It's, if Trump can come back and get us back, really? Hey, dumbasses, we're actually living the result of Trump's decisions. Remember, half of the government wasn't working. This is what it is. This spent so much money, and people were not working in offices. It was empty when Biden came in. Everybody knows that the first half of a presidency, the first half is the last president's half, because it's all been set up. Yeah. But for
Trump didn't allow for a transition.
Oh, we got many. Yeah, exactly. That old idiot, that little pug nose.
Remember, he was withholding information and all of that. So when Biden got in, Biden just got
White House and didn't belong to him.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. I couldn't be a president because I'd be on TV calling everybody and their mama something in a day. But see,
but we didn't get you to Jen Psaki. I thought you're going to be Jen Psaki's replacement.
I know, and I'm not really crazy about the new nice girl on the block, because we don't need new nice girls. This is we need Valkyries to show up, and I love Simone. Would have been great, but even she's done some kind of media training with her TV show, which I don't know if it's going to last. But we just need people who are going to push back. This is a really serious time. People actually want to verbally spar with each other.
Yeah.
So you need to have the acumen, the ability to do it when you go into politics like this. Like Aisha would have been great, like a great speaker of the House type of person. And at this point, why not just rotate that to somebody every 6 months? Give it to somebody else. Hey, why not pick it out? See, we're getting into game show territory with the White House. Pick it out of a hat, because we don't know what's going on. Let's go, and here you go.
She won't be there much longer. She won't be there longer than a year, because what they typically do is rotate out. Like Jen Psaki, or her job and her time was to be there from the time that he got in to handle that transitional period.
That's true, but
And
Karine
now
can't
she's
cut
gonna get
it, you know. And I think that they're starting to pick people based upon weird stuff. Okay, do we have any lesbians? Okay,
Yeah,
we're
that's
her.
it. That's
Any
it.
black
I
people?
just said the
She
same
could do this. I
She
can't
actually
take
happened
it.
to be the deputy, so that's how she ended up being
She's
defaulted.
too PR. She's like PR for a fashion magazine or a different kind of corporation, not what's that pool of the press pool anymore. That
Listen,
thing has
I'm all
changed.
for
What
breaking
it
down
looks like to
barriers.
me,
Do it with something, with someone who has the balls to do it. Don't
Mhm.
just put them in there just because, oh, this is our first lesbian. Oh, this is our first
Mhm.
black. Oh, this is our first woman. Oh, this is our first Latina.
Yeah.
I don't care about that. What I
I
want to know is, yes, barriers can be broken, but please do it with something that has power behind it.
Yes, their
what it looks
ability
like
has to
me,
walk in
though,
the room before all the other labels, because
Yeah.
we're such a label-oriented society at the moment. I don't care about your label. I want to ask what you are afterwards,
Right.
after you wipe the floor with somebody.
Right.
I think, and
I want to go, who's that?
but I said this to you
We need a
on Twitter,
baddie.
though.
We need a baddie to show up. Sorry.
Yes.
We
but I
need
said
some
this to you on
baddies
Twitter,
in
though.
there.
I think she's got to get there. And the reason I say that, someone who, this is what I do anyway, Monday through Friday, 8 to 5. The thing of it is that when
you should be so there, Aisha. You know it too. As they say, your country needs you.
Yes.
when you're thrown into the position, I have to say, I don't think I question how information was being passed on from the White House communication staff to the vice president's communication staff. Because remember, Karine was she was Kamala Harris's chief communications person.
And that wasn't going so well, though.
But it makes
That
me
actually
wonder,
was, to me, that's the reason I think it was wrong. That's a big problem. Kamala is like nowhere land.
Nowhere. Where is
Nowhere. And so
Nowhere.
you go and hire her press person? Like, really?
but like I
why?
said,
To keep her
first
working?
of all, what vice president you really is ever there? Because the kind of person that she is, you would expect her to be more visible.
Even the press.
But remember the vice president's role, their main job is to be president of the Senate. They don't really have any other physical presence to do anything
but there
else.
was a lot of attacking for her. So to act like it wasn't going on is wrong. They came for her and nobody did anything. And what they've done is we don't want her as president now.
Right.
So for me, she needed to be like a fortress full of like serious experienced PR people to keep that reputation intact, like cracking a whip. And that did not happen for whatever reason. And she's done. Now they need to be working on an exit strategy for Kamala.
Yes.
They just have to.
Yes.
It would be the worst thing ever if the Democratic Party selected her to run as a president.
They don't get a choice.
But I'm saying it's done. She needs an exit strategy.
And actually, it's been shown historically that it's bad when the president chooses a second vice president.
I don't even know if that means anything anymore, because it's bad that we're going to lose in our primaries.
Yeah.
This is unheard of.
Honestly, I think that we have to stop giving the media as much credit as we do for giving us that narrative about it being bad in our primaries.
I'm looking at who won and who's running.
I mean, yes, I'm looking at who won, but you got to remember the people, when we're looking at these things and how the media is presenting them.
We got Katie Porter out here struggling, and this is Katie Porter. They rezoned her and gerrymandered her area. She will have a hard time, and it will be a goddamn shame if we lose her.
She will have a hard time.
And I don't know what we do. Draw more people?
There were a lot of people who will have a hard time. But
when
you sit back and you go back and you look at the actual raw data, the outlook that we've been given by media is very different from how things are going on the ground. For example, like with Warnock.
No, not to
I'll use
interrupt, but
Warnock
we
for an
had
example.
one girl who was in the throuple. She resigned. Al Franken resigned. Why do they do it anymore? It doesn't matter anymore. Keep your damn jobs. I don't know what Jamie, whatever his name at the DNC, who the hell do they think they are telling people we voted for them? If we want them out, we'll get them out.
Yeah.
But how dare you? I don't care if she's sleeping with 3 people, her husband and her girlfriend. I really don't give a shit. But
you mean Katie Hill?
Yeah, that seat went to a Republican.
But remember.
And then we lost 2 seats here.
But remember, here is the thing. Katie wasn't supposed to win that seat in the first place. She flipped a seat. So the
more reason why.
All the more reason why she shouldn't have stepped down.
No.
But understand the fact that a lot of these seats that we see going and these primaries changing are seats that Democrats flipped in 2018. 2018, we were in a very different spot than we are now. They were seats that were flipped, and they weren't flipped by large margins. So the shock shouldn't be that, oh, there's going to be this red wave. No, there's not going to be this red wave. Things are going to happen as they would have happened anyway, had people in 2018 not been so.
I disagree. I think that the urgency is on. Look at Pennsylvania. There's just no way to describe what's happening. There are actual Q people who won. So on that note, even a regular Republican didn't win. That should really prick your ears up, because that's not even a progressive, that's the nut jobs. So there's that, and there were enough of them.
But here's the thing. Remember how they redistrict these zones. They did.
This
zoning.
Wasn't redistricting. This is American.
But even when
people.
You go back and you look at who's voting, who is voting in those districts, the people that they talk to afterwards aren't exactly the same as people in the bunch, and they're showing up more. They're showing up in larger numbers than voters of other persuasions.
That's
and that is the problem. That's the problem that the Dems have more than anything, is getting people to turn out in a midterm.
In a midterm
primary. Like, for example, my state, we have a late primary. That does nothing to help anyone. So what the Republicans have gone at, they're going after Jahana Hayes. They're really going after her. Why? Because we have a primary in the middle of September for a November election. And it's really brutal when you can go that far to put stuff out for a primary.
I'm not worried about the people who I see on TV and being cuckoo and showing up in a South public. Those people, I know where they stand. It's the people who are behind the closed doors who are not saying anything, and they're speaking with their money and they're speaking with their votes. This is frightening because they're not speaking out. So it's we're being blindsided a lot of times because you really and truly don't know who you're talking to. Perfect example, down here, Florida, went to the store, lady said something about my hair. Oh, your hair is beautiful, blah, blah, blah. And she just struck up a conversation and we were fine. We walked out of that store and girlfriend got into a bubba truck that said, if you don't speak English, you don't belong here. Had Trump and everything else across. But this is a lady who was speaking to me like nothing was bothering her. Right. Now, my question is, she obviously didn't know where I was.
Yeah. No.
Then it would have been a situation. Being a light woman, you hear a lot of things that you don't normally hear if you were of darker persuasion. So I'm seeing it clearly all around me. There are
much so
up and down my street that have these flags in their garage, and I'm flying out in front. But it says, "Don't blame me. We voted for Trump." But still, yet, how y'all doing? Nice to see you.
Exactly.
So that's what I'm afraid of.
But they've always been that way, though. That's the thing. They've always been that way.
No, there's actually more now. Because I'll tell you, Aisha, as long as the corporations are gouging and doing what they're doing, who owns the stock in most of that stuff? White people. So white Americans who have stock in ExxonMobil or have it in whatever is being shortchanged, Purdue Chicken, whatever it may be, they're going to do well. They're going to do well.
It's
But I
always
have to- I
And
have to-
that is going
no,
to
no, I have to say
determine
this,
if they're going
though.
to vote Republican. I have seen it with my own eyes, because after a while, people say this country's garbage. I'm going to take care of myself, and I'm going to look out for number one. And I don't really give a shit who wins as long as my money's safe.
But that's why I'm saying they've always been this way, because honestly, I can tell you all the stuff that's going down in South Carolina with the primaries and everything.
They weren't always like that, or we wouldn't have had
Yes,
Barack
they
Obama,
were.
or we
They
wouldn't
were,
have had.
They were like that when I was working in politics in South Carolina.
There
There's no
were
difference
white
there.
people. They lost
no
the
difference.
margins. People who voted for Barack Obama
But
are
Barack
back to
Obama
on their
didn't win
bit now.
Carolina. He didn't win South Carolina.
I'm talking about, for the most part, people turned out forever to vote for him, and they lost the margins. They don't have that margin anymore of anybody. They have not.
But
and now either people just don't show up, or they go, this is the way it is. But the only difference this time is that if these lawmakers of the Q persuasion get in, you're looking at states where we see a DOJ that does nothing. We are going to see more shootings, more incarcerations for some really crazy, like elementary stuff. And we're going to see more messed up with judges, and could quite possibly start to see whites only signs again.
But this is something, but for me, I'm sitting here saying, didn't anyone think about this when Barack Obama won? These people were so
Why would we
pissed.
have?
They created the Tea Party. They were so pissed that a black man won.
But in the moment of when we all were voting for Barack Obama, there was a wave of possibility, hopefulness, and a real camaraderie. And there also was this solidarity and a big view to the people who were naysayers. They were the old time people. They were people we didn't want to know. And I'm talking all colors: white, black, green, yellow, rainbow color. Didn't give what mammy white grandma down in New Orleans was saying about black people. This was different.
But we got to be honest, though. The one thing that we don't talk about with that is that also too, in that first election, that 2008 election, a lot of white people voted. There were a lot, and I did an after survey, so I found this out. A lot of white people who wouldn't have ordinarily voted for a black person to be president voted, because at that time they felt like, oh, I'd be racist if I didn't vote for the black guy. That was what shifted in that large amount of white voters that he had in 2008 versus what he had in 2012. Because by 2012, when the numbers changed, that should have been a big wake-up call to Democrats. Hey, we're about to lose some stuff over a longer period of time. They weren't paying attention. They still aren't paying attention.
No, I'm with
and
you.
they are not they're not messaging. The people on the right, they never changed, because guess what? You cannot change them. They're the people who would have voted that way. They're going to vote that way. What they're doing now, especially in the Bible Belt area, is they're just making it easier for the people to bring more people in. They're making it easier for them to bring more people into the fold and say, hey, guess what? You vote like you and I think alike. Let's go get you registered to vote. Their numbers of...
That's what I'm talking about with the Q people. That's fine. But my whole thing is...
they've always felt that way.
I don't know if they've always felt that way. I'm not going to say that. I think that people vote with their pockets. They really do. Every rich person I've ever met or known will put aside their personal stuff. Seriously. They don't care. They will vote with their pockets.
That makes sense.
That's true for the rich people, but the poor people, who are the ones who...
poor people are stupid. That's why they're poor.
The poor people and the ones who are in the Republican Party who are turning this over. They know the cultural issue, and their main cultural
in
issue
America
is racism.
That's what it is. And these are not all poor white people. It's not poor
man,
white
I'm
trash.
glad I ducked that missile.
They're like middle class, poor, and they always think they can get a leg up.
But you know what though? But their idea of middle class, and this is the one thing why I hate that
It's very
term,
different.
their idea of middle class is very different, because I have seen people talk about being middle class and be like, yeah, I make $30,000 a year. My husband makes $30,000 a year, and we've had 5 kids. You're not middle class when the poverty level per person is like $18,000, when that's the poverty line per person. So you're not middle class. So when we talk about middle class people in middle class America, understand that we have included a lot of people in that just really aren't, according to how we calculate.
Well, every state is different. I've been paying like close to $8 for gas since I don't know how long, and having it normally to $5 is not a big deal. Do I have to keep hearing about it's $3 where I live? And I'm like, yeah, welcome to my world. There are people who are working remotely making more than people who live in California anymore, and we're paying more. So my whole thing is, can we just stop subsidizing the rest of these loser states? If they want to be on their own, fine. But why do my tax dollars have to go to even pay for any other state? Keep it home.
And that ends up being the problem, is that these red states that
let them sink or swim. Right, I don't give a shit.
They're taking more money from the federal government than they're putting in. And then when it comes to certain pots of money that they should take, they won't accept it, or they will accept it and not do anything with it. For example, like a lot of them got the subsidies for Medicare and Medicaid during the COVID. Guess what? They didn't take it. And so what ended up happening is you had these clinics in these rural areas in North Carolina, South Carolina, Georgia, Alabama closing because their states did not want to take the COVID relief funds from a Democratic president.
But then, like, Texas took some funds. They just decided not to use it. But I'll tell you how Texas is. So Elon Musk has grifted his ass down there because he has lawsuits here with African Americans who are suing his company in California because he pretty much all over them and is a racist. He wants to be called an African American. And yeah, so he is trying to get out of that lawsuit, number one. But anyway, when you go down there, GPS ain't even rigged up right down there. I freaking got lost on Tesla Way, go figure, going to the airport. And I was sitting there and I said, yeah, that's about right. It looks good. It sounds good. The street, same with the car. And they recall 300,000 of them. It's all smoke and mirrors with these people. And I get what you're saying about people always being that way, but we have more foreign influence in this country than we've ever had. And there's a part of me that totally understands Joseph McCarthy now. I totally get why he came down on some people, because a part of me feels that maybe we're going to have to. But we also are under the misconception that people want to immigrate here because it's so fantastic. First of all, apparently you can come here and commit crimes and nothing seems to happen to you. If you do white collar criminals, nothing happens to you in America. Have fun coming here and fleece the whole. Mm-hmm. Secondly, you have other situations where people, and it's not unlike what they did with the Italians from Sardinia and Sicily back after the Emancipation Proclamation, used to take a boat to come here to America and work in Louisiana, take their money and leave and go back. It was when the white people down there would rather hire the Italians than to let freed slaves work and pay them. That's how that happened. And they didn't even keep the money here in America. So there's such a deep hatred. And I get you on that. Some people that will always be like that. But we have some serious issues here. And one of them is legacy, generational wealth, and making sure our people are getting fed and have money in stocks and different places. But as soon as we start playing stocks, they want to have everybody playing Bitcoin. Can you believe Jay-Z tried to rope everybody at Marcy Projects into some Bitcoin? And they had to stand up and say, I'm sorry, we don't want to lose our money. Why are we doing to our own people to them up? We're not setting them up. We do stuff to them down. And it's really, I can't handle it anymore. So yeah, there is a part of people that start going, I'll vote for myself.
Jill, Aisha, last word, we'll move on.
Yeah. The sad part about, I'm with you when people start complaining about, oh my God, gas is $3. Such and such. I'm
You
like,
too. You're in
we're
the
paying a
tri-state.
lot more than $3
Thank you.
for gas.
Yes, you are.
That's the first thing. But I then have to remember when I first moved to South Carolina in 2000, gas was still 89 cents. And that was, and it was still 89 cents. But as I lived there over the course of time, rents and mortgages were low, but they started to creep up. And what I did not see was my paycheck creeping up along with it to keep pace with the things that are.
But they did it
getting
on
more expensive.
everything. They
What I
did
will
it with
say, though, is that
wages
living-
too. The
Yeah, but
same
what I will
shit.
say is that living here in Connecticut, at least my pay is on par with the way that things are growing in terms of prices, that the pay has kept up historically without inflation.
But it's not for everybody, and they
not for
set
every,
the
and
model.
that's what I'm
Like
saying.
all the people that got the low wages thing raised. So basically now everything else raised. And basically they're keeping the same model and they're keeping the same gap in between people. The only interesting thing I heard the other day is that they're going to go back and look at houses and resetting them. So I don't know how you feel about that. You sell real estate.
I sure do. And there's all sorts of shenanigans going there. Here's a perfect example of how they like to fleece you. You're down here in Florida. Everybody thinks, oh, Florida, we don't have a state tax. Oh, we're moving to Florida. But what you don't see is that now there is a crisis with home insurance because you can't get it. All of these people are paying quadruple the amounts. Give me the state tax, please. Give me the state tax. Because everything else that has gone on behind that, oh, we don't have no state tax, nothing here to see, is detrimental what's going on. People cannot buy homes because they can't afford the insurance. And even the taxes now are gone up. So it's all smoke and mirrors. And no matter what they do, rates now are over 6%.
Crazy.
Now, people are freaking out. Okay. Like when I bought our home in 2002, everybody was like, oh, 6%. Oh my goodness. Oh, and it was wonderful. And now here it is, over 6 again. They keep trying to say they're self-correcting, but this self-correcting is not working. You must pay the people to be able to eat.
I hope Connecticut Republicans hear what you just said, LaLa, because they're talking about trying to get rid of the
state tax.
Income tax, and it's really, where do you think where do you think we're getting the money to survive? You can look at a city. Look, I know when I cross the line from Hamden to New Haven, because the city tax, and mind you, the reason New Haven doesn't get a whole lot of city taxes is because Yale owns everything. But I can tell the difference when I cross from one into the other on the street because the potholes are so deep. And it's like driving an obstacle course, having to get around them. You can tell in Connecticut when you go from different cities that don't have a whole lot of city taxes, I will gladly pay the city tax and the state tax for all of it, because the bottom line ends up becoming, if they get rid of that, the money has to come from somewhere. So they will increase everything else. And people don't realize that. Like even now, God, car taxes are high as hell here. But understand, if you didn't pay that car tax, it's gonna come somewhere else in your car ownership. Like the cost, as it stands right now, the cost of just registering a car is ridiculous.
That's where they need to go in and clean up where the corruption is. And that's in the insurance industry. And that's across the board. Haven't you even just for healthcare, if you go and you ask your doctor, how much is this going to cost me before I have the procedure? Their office will tell you one thing and your bill will tell you something else. And the reason for that is because nobody knows how the billings work. And it's really wrong. It is so corrupt here. And only if you've ever lived abroad to see how the transparency there versus here. It's a shocker that Americans, when I said they're stupid, is because they allow this to go on for too long. it's just the norm now. Like, bend me over and do me, because that's just how it is here.
And everybody's trying to get money, especially from the insurance when you're dealing with health insurance. Doctors charge $7 for a Q-tip. A Q-tip.
Yeah, and most of the doctors don't even know their own billings. They hire a third party
to make up the prices
that do the billing, because nobody can understand the codes. I think we talked about this before last week, but I think I wanted to just touch on one crazy thing, but I forgot what it was. But we are definitely in some grim times, and if people need to remember what happened to Marie Antoinette, and her friends.
Let's land off on a little bit of more beautiful note than what we've been going through the last few minutes. Hello, we went way off from Herschel Walker to gas, but maybe it's relationship.
He is a windbag.
and his kid was out there complaining about the cost of gas while wearing a $1,200 shirt, filling up a Range Rover. Yeah,
there you go. All right. We're broadcasting the day before Father's Day 2022. Would love each one of you to give your thoughts about Father's Day. Anyone have some thoughts? Quiet.
My father is no longer here with us, and so
my condolences.
I always remember, thank you, that there was just one time that my dad decided that he was going to take me to the father-daughter dance. And I will never forget that he dressed up so handsomely.
Oh.
He waxed that car. There was no tomorrow. And he took me to that dance, and we danced. And that is one of the most cherished memories that I ever have. So any man that came into my life had big shoes to fill. And I was blessed enough to have a husband who does fill that. So fathers are important. I don't care what anybody says. Yes, we can be strong women. We could be strong women. We could raise our children. Yes, we can. But there is something special about having that father presence in your life. So I am appreciative of any man who stays, who raises their children, who helps set that example, and you are loved, and it is your day. And I am just wishing every father a beautiful day.
Wonderful.
Well, I will call my dad tomorrow. I encourage my daughter to encourage her grandparents, her grandfathers. It's difficult. She struggles with the Father's Day thing with her dad because he's Jehovah's Witness, so he doesn't celebrate Father's Day. But she always wants to call him and
they don't celebrate
Happy Father's Day.
They got too strict for me.
Yeah, and so that's a challenge. My relationship with my dad has gotten better as I've gotten older. But I have to say that when I was very little, my dad always took me, whenever he went to the record store, he always took me with him to the record store. That was always my favorite thing to do. And so today I actually took my daughter to the record store. We were actually talking about, I was telling her about some of the trips I took with my father to these little obscure record stores, mom and pop record shops in New York City. And we ended up finding a few things. So
nice.
Yep. So I'm going to call my dad and tell him that story tomorrow.
Wonderful.
For me, I grew up not knowing my dad. I've only spoken to my dad on the phone, never physically met.
Wow.
It's really wild. But in the meantime of that, after we were talking about Herschel Walker and deadbeat dads and things like that. And I think if you're a child out there and there are people sometimes who step in, and I've had stepfathers who were wonderful. Stepfather, I had other people, male figures that really mentored and played a valuable role. Nowadays, it's really hard with everybody so paranoid of talking to somebody or getting accused of something untoward. But I think that if you can, with male energy. It's very important for children to have that, whether it be in groups or sometimes just bring the extra kid along sometimes for the movie. But that being said, because we are living in times where there's so many accusations, people get a little nervous exposing themselves to all of these extra things. So it takes real courage and to be able to do that. And also for the kids who feel like they're missing out on a dad, or because their father passed away or something like that. I always thought that there was just some reason behind it. And you'll find out later, usually, what that was about, whether it was to make you a different kind of person, better, to enhance you some way. It's not really to take away from you. It seems like you're working with less marbles than everybody else, but actually it's a little weird blessing. And sometimes you meet these parents later or somebody and you're like, damn, I dodged a bullet. It's a good thing I didn't meet them. So there's all sorts of reasons. And for me, I've always entertained myself with the what ifs, and I create so many scenarios until I find one that sits well with me. And I suggest that people do that. And I think that for all the fathers out there, bless you. Have a wonderful time enjoying your children. And just be there as much as you really can, you know.
Good stuff. I'll just be really quick. Just a few things just rolling around in my head. One of the things that people may not understand or may not realize, there was a study done a number of years ago saying that Black fathers on average are more engaged with their children than non-melanated fathers. So this stereotype of, yes, there are Black fathers that are not doing their job. Fully agree with that. But again, as we talked about earlier, I think Aisha talked about, the media has a certain way of putting out a message.
Mm-hmm.
So that's one thing. Second of all, I can relate with Aisha myself. Not until a number of years ago, I did not have a good relationship with my dad. And it took him almost dying of a heart attack for our relationship to turn around. And I won't get too much. I think I've mentioned it before, but being in that waiting room for 4.5 hours, wondering if he'd still be alive or not, and having those moments of I woulda, I coulda, I shoulda, and then the surgeon coming into the room, and I realized in 5 seconds my life would change forever, and he said he'd be okay, and then I ran over to that surgeon. I didn't hug him. I hugged his leg for a minute. And then I went and I said, can I go see him? And he says, sure. And the first thing I said, Dad, how you doing? He goes, I can feel my toes now. I'm going, so this has been going on for a while. So for the fathers out there, everything you do and everything you say are going to have impact on your children. You may not realize it, but they're watching you. And even when you're growing up, they're watching you and paying attention to you also. So you have, for those who are engaged, congratulations. For those who aren't engaged, remember that not being there is going to have a potential large impact on your children also. And I guess one other thing I will say too, whenever I ask my dad, how's he doing? He says, as long as my kids are okay, I'm okay. And simple statement, but so powerful. So I want to wish all the fathers, caregivers out there, caregiving dads, the bonus dads, I've heard that term a lot now in the last few years, the bonus dads, hell you up. And just realize that you are important. You may not feel it, but you're very important. So don't forget that. Very important. So I'll leave with that. I can share some other stories, but I don't want to keep the time going because this has been another short show. But I will say something. One of my closest confidants, he texted me a few minutes ago. He goes, some serious bad word dropping tonight.
Sorry. Had to be me. I'm sorry.
It's okay.
Ooh.
It's all right. But no, another great conversation. And yeah. And actually, was it last Saturday Eve? Was it a week ago today? I went out with my dad and he got together with some of his high school friends, like
Oh, wow.
gentlemen. Yeah,
Wow.
and maybe I'll show it offline. I videoed some of him in fine form talking some stories from his high school days, and I also will encourage, document your journey with your dad if you can,
True.
because once they're gone, you're never going to get it back. So document if you can, whether it's pictures, whether it's a video, do it. And last message for dads out there, especially younger dads. When I'm helping younger dads, I say, look, you got kids and probably they're going to live longer than you. We're speaking it, because the last thing you want as a dad is to be burying your child. You don't want that. That's like parent, mother, father. It's not a great thing. So you say, when you've transitioned, as they say these days, let's speak that your child or children will be living in a house, home, condominium, and we hope that there's a picture of you in that house or home. My question to every dad is, when someone points at that picture, what do you want your child to say about who's in that picture?
Mhm.
On that note, we are complete. Another epic conversation.
You just made me feel so guilty right now, Dr. Vibe. You
What?
said the thing about the pictures, right? Take pictures. I have a bag this big
It's
of
beautiful.
pictures. Of pictures of Amaya that I have yet to develop.
Oh my! Do
Going
it.
back to when 2002,
Do it.
which is born.
Child,
Yeah.
children, whatever. Do it. Do it. Very important. It's very important. So I'm going to keep on reminding you to develop those pictures. Very, very important. All right. On that note, we're going to say night night. But before we say night night, we got to say thank you to all the wonderful ladies who made it another epic conversation. LaLa, how can people get in touch with you?
You can find me on Twitter, Instagram, everywhere under Realty Goddess.
Got it. Jill D. Jones.
At Jill D. Jones on Twitter and at Jill Jones Music on Instagram.
Wonderful. And by the way, how's your daughter doing?
I talked to her the other day. In the heat, it's like 100 degrees in Texas. Yeah.
All right.
So,
Good stuff.
yeah.
That's good.
Knock on wood.
And then finally, we've got Aisha K.
You can find me at Aisha Staggers on Twitter. But I'm not going to be there as much as I have been in the past because I'm taking time to preserve my peace.
Hey, that's a very good statement, because I've been following both of you this last week. Oh my. Oh my, this week. You took it up, both of you, a notch over the last week or so. I'm just going, okay.
Maybe I did. I might have.
You maybe Jill?
I might have done.
Okay. You had a maybe week. All right.
I did, I guess. It felt a little tame to me, actually.
I know, me too. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
I'm
I'm
like,
like,
No,
really?
last I saw it over the
Yeah.
last 2 weeks ago, was very much fire. That's for sure. That was for sure. I just went, oh my. I say, man, when America goes to war, they need to have Jill and Aisha as their generals. All right, we'll leave it, leave it at that.
I know, right?
Well, if you want to find me, website address, thedrvibeshow.com, email dr at thedrvibeshow.com, Facebook, The Dr. Vibe Show, Twitter at drvibeshow, and Instagram is the Dr. Vibe Show. So as always, want to thank everyone who hung out with us tonight. You can catch replays of this epic conversation here. I got it wrong. You can catch replays here at the Dr. Vibe Show YouTube and Facebook, and the Dr. Vibe Show website address. And you can catch us live every Saturday, 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Pacific, on the Dr. Vibe Show YouTube page and Facebook page. As always, we'll leave with this. Live your life as a dream. If you can dream it, you can make it. Sometimes you have to get smaller to get stronger. Block assumptions, then aim bigger, aim better, aim higher, aim wider. Love, faith, and respect. Remember to give yourselves grace. And remember, don't just manage your time, manage your energy. And one thing I heard the other day, a tree without roots is a block of wood. A tree without roots is a block of wood. God bless. Peace and well. Keep the faith. Thanks for everyone watching live on the replay or listening on the replay. See you next week.